Going through the consent agenda, we will start with A1 is approval of City of Evanston payroll bills and credit card activity. Staff recommend council approval of the payroll for periods June 8th through June 21st in the amount of $2,739,282.08, and the bills list for July 14, 2020 in the amount of $5,789,237.29, as well as the credit card activity for period ending April 26, 2020 in the amount of $166,344.28. That is for action. Alderman Rainey, can you do A2? That way we can all take a look.
Yes, I will. We're going to take A2 off because it's Harris Amazon.
Oh, yes. Alderman Sufferton can't vote on that one.
I'll do A3. Okay, A3? All right?
Yep, A3 is fine.
All right. Approval of insurance brokerage service contract renewals. We're being asked to recommend to the council consideration of the current environment, including a tight insurance market. It is recommended that we extend the agreements with the Owens Group and Arthur J. Gallagher and Company for insurance brokerage services at a total cost of $43,000 per year for 1 more year. Both brokers have agreed to provide service at the same rate as last year. Funding will be provided from the insurance fund. I move approval.
Thank you. Alderman Sufferton, can you do A4?
I move approval item A4, which is the annual membership dues to the Northwest Municipal Conference. Staff recommends City Council approve the city's annual membership dues for the 2020-2021 fiscal year, the Northwest Municipal Conference, in the amount of $25,528.
Second.
Thank you, and I will do A5 is the approval of sole source purchase of Cisco dual multi-factor authentication licensing with MNJ Technologies Direct, Inc. Staff recommend council approve the sole source purchase of Cisco dual security standard license from MNJ Technologies Direct, Inc. in the amount of $47,780. This purchase will enable the city to improve its cybersecurity posture through the implementation of multi-factor authentication. Funding will be from the IT Computer Software Fund. This is for action. And I actually have a quick question for staff for this one. I wasn't able to figure this out looking at the paperwork. How long is the contract for this? Or is it a long-term purchase?
Hi, Alderman Fleming. This is a 1-year agreement, and I'll let Dmitry Shub, who's on the phone, add to that if needed.
Well, that was my only question, but if he wants to elaborate on it just for staff, for public purposes. Dmitry, you have anything to add?
Oh, can you just move it?
Yeah, we can kind of hear you. Go ahead.
Okay, so it is a 12-month term on the Cisco Duo MFA contract, and that agreement includes the licensing portion for all employees that have accounts with the city, in addition to any support and maintenance that we need.
Okay, thank you.
Cheers, thank you.
Alderman Rainey, can you do A6, please?
Right. What is that noise?
Luke, can you mute me, please?
Yeah, I'm working on that. Sorry.
Okay. A6. Approval of a contract extension with Patriot Pavement Maintenance for crack sealing program. This is a 1-year extension for crack sealing services with this company in the amount of $80,000. It's an award. The award is part of a bid let by Municipal Partnering Initiative. I move approval.
All right, second, Alderman Sufferton, can you do A7?
Sure. I move item A7, which is approval of a contract award with True Point Solutions for the purchase of a utility billing system. Staff recommends City Council authorize the city manager to execute a 5-year agreement with True Point Solutions for the period of July 20, 2020 to July 19, 2025 to provide utility billing software as a service in the not to be exceed amount of $585,000. Funding is provided by the Water Fund, Water Other Operations Business Unit, which has an approved fiscal year 2020 budget of $373,300 and a year-to-date balance of $273,300.91.
All right, I'll second that one. A8 is the approval of contract award with Weiss Jenny Elstner Associates for parking garage structural assessment RFP 2019. Staff recommends council authorize city manager to execute an agreement with Weiss Jenny Elster and Associates to provide engineering services for parking garage structural assessment in the amount of $149,500. Funding is approved from the Capital Improvement Fund 2020 General Obligation Bond in the amount of $8,805 and from the Parking Fund in the amount of $140,695. This is for action.
Second.
Alderman,
Yes.
Rainey?
Yes. We're being asked to recommend to the council the approval of the purchase of a replacement refuse vehicle. It is number 718 for operations by the Public Works Agency, Public Service Bureau. The replacement will be purchased from National Fleet Auto Group in the amount of $287,605.86 through the Sourcewell contract. I move approval.
Second, and I have a question for staff for this one. What is the expected life on this vehicle? How long do we have these trucks?
Good evening, this is Dave Stoneback. We anticipate a 10-year life on this vehicle.
Okay, and are we able to do the repairs, at least the smaller ones in-house?
Yes, we are capable of doing that.
Okay, thank you. Alderman Suffolk and A10, please.
Sure. Item A10 is approval of change order number 1 to the agreement with Stantec Consulting Services for the 1909 raw water intake replacement. Staff recommends City Council authorize the city manager to execute change order number 1 to the agreement with Stantec Consulting Services for the 1909 raw water intake replacement in the amount of $152,114. This will increase the overall contract amount from $598,909 to $751,023. Funding is provided from the Water Fund, which has an approved fiscal year budget of $1,440,000 and a year-to-date balance of $1,006,182.20. Both fiscal year 2020 and fiscal year 2021, $400,000 is allocated each year for this project for a total budget of $800,000. City staff intends to pursue a low-interest loan from IEPA State Revolving Fund. The loan is only issued after the design is complete and a contractor has been selected. If the city is successful in obtaining the loan, all eligible engineering and construction costs will be funded by the loan. This is for action.
All right, I'll second that. A11 is resolution.
Wait.
Oh, sorry. Alderman Rainey has a question?
Yeah, and really it's a comment, which involves a question also. You know, this is a pretty big change order, and I did read the staff explanation, and I guess when you get into something like this, it's a search and discover mission. However, I'm going to support this 100%, but just for the purpose of research, I'd like to know, how many people bid on this, and, what was the next low bid? And, it just seems that this is a really big change order. And I'm just wondering, was there any discussion about this happening, and was this a super low bid or what? So I get very suspicious when these kinds of change orders come up. I don't know. So yeah.
Good evening again. This is Dave Stoneback. The majority of this cost is for the geotechnical investigation, which is very critical to determine the actual construction costs going in. So that extra work was not contemplated at the time that we put the request for proposal out. They have done some geotechnical surveying already, but now that we have identified the actual route that the intake will be placed, we want to do soil borings right at those locations. The valve vault design, which is another significant increased cost, as part of the RFP, we were uncertain whether we were going to have a structure placed on land or not. And it wasn't until the design was done and we had a series of big debates as to whether we should include this or not. For the potential of expanding the water plant at some point and using this intake to go to other pumping stations, we felt that it was appropriate to have this vault designed into the contract. So again, this was not something that was contemplated at the time that we put the request for proposal out. The proposal required them to do an analysis to determine and make a recommendation one way or the other, whether we should include this structure or not. It was up to staff to make the final decision as to whether or not we recommend it. So this cost would not have been included in the other engineering proposals that were submitted. I don't have that information on me right now to be able to give you responses to comparison, but I will get those and provide it at the city council meeting.
Well, are you saying, Dave, that this is really an add-on after the fact? I mean, this wasn't even contemplated when you put out the bid originally?
The additional vault was, we knew that it was feasible that it might be there, but we didn't want to include it right off the get-go because we did a really good analysis to determine whether we wanted it or not. And if we had said we wanted it, then there wouldn't have been a chance of backing out. This way, we determined through looking at all the facts that it was appropriate to have, and therefore it is an increase to the contract.
All right. I mean, that's an explanation, I guess. Okay.
Alderman Rainey, this is Laura.
Hi, Laura.
I looked up the information that you requested, and we originally had 4 engineers propose on this, and their original cost proposals ranged from $473,000 to $2.7 million. So Stantec was in the lower portion of that, obviously. There aren't a lot of engineering firms that can do this kind of work. So actually, we were really surprised to get 4 proposals when we did.
All right, I get it. All right. So I'm just accepting the fact that this was really new work that is an additional charge. Okay, let's move on.
All right, so we're moving on to A11. A11 is Resolution 6-R-20, authorizing city manager to accept donation of 6 car charging stations from alternate transportation for Chicagoland. Staff recommends we adopt this resolution for accepting a donation of 6 car charging stations. This is for action.
Second.
Alderman Sufferman, A12, I guess it's coming off.
Item A12 is Resolution 53R20, authorizing the city manager consent to a permit for Northwestern football parking and tailgating events for the 2020, 21, 22, 23, and 24 seasons. Staff recommends adoption of Resolution 53R20, but the applicant has withdrawn their request. So I guess I'm a little confused what we're voting on and why we're doing it. So if somebody could give me some.
Can we have legal counsel? Can you give us some direction on this one?
Good afternoon, Alderman. The applicant, Northwestern, has withdrawn their request for the permit from MWRD, so there's no longer a necessity for us to actually give consent because they're no longer seeking the permit.
So should we just take this off consent agenda altogether?
Yes.
Okay. All right, so thank you, Alderman Sufferman, but we don't need to do that one.
Is that because of the MWRD issue, or is it because of no football? What's it because of?
My understanding is that the NCAA and the Big Ten are not allowing teams to tailgate because of coronavirus.
That's a bummer. Okay, got it.
All right, so A12 has been removed because of the withdrawal by the applicant. A13 will be Resolution 56-R-20, authorizing the interim city manager to sign a construction engineering services agreement for federal participation in the Illinois Department of Transportation and Stanley Consultants Incorporated for the Central Street Bridge Replacement Project. Staff recommends we adopt this ordinance. This resolution. Funding will be provided by Capital Improvement Fund and the 2019 obligation bond, general obligation bond in the amount of $60,000. From 2020 general obligation bonds in the amount of $91,400 and $605,600 in the Federal Services Transportation Program. A detailed funding analysis is included below. This is for action.
Second.
A14, Alderman, yes,
Mhm.
thank you, Alderman Rainey.
Could I take one now?
Yeah, A14.
We're being asked to recommend to the council the adoption of Resolution 57R20, authorizing the mayor to execute the local public agency funding agreement for that, for the federal participation required for the Central Street Bridge Replacement Project. Execution of the agreement will allow Evanston to receive $6,331,200 in Surface Transportation Program funding and commits Evanston for matching funds in the amount of $1,582,800 for the project. Funding will be provided from Capital Improvement Fund 2020 general obligation bonds in the amount of $250,000, 2021 general obligation bonds in the amount of $1,302,800, the water fund in the amount of $30,000, and from Federal Service Transportation Program grant funds in the amount of $6,331,200. I move approval.
And I second, but I have a question for, I guess, someone in our finance department. These are very big numbers, and so if you can explain for the public about the Surface Transportation Program, the $6 million amount. In one place, it's listed just as funding, and another place for the federal funding, it says grant funding. So it's important for people to know if this is a grant or a loan.
Good evening, Dave Stoneback again. This money is grant money. The $6 million is actual grant money that we're receiving from IDOT, through
great.
IDOT.
So the financing for this comes from our general obligation bonds, which I think were somewhere around $1.3 million. Is that about correct?
That's correct. Well, it's about 1.5 million.
Okay. Okay. Thank you, because $6 million is a lot to borrow, so I wanted to clarify that for people.
Well, you can't beat the ratio, can you?
No, that's why I wanted to make sure it was clear, because just after that line in the agenda, it doesn't say grant, so I wanted to make sure that was clear for the public. So thank you very much. Alderman Sufferman, can you do A15, please?
Sure. Actually, before we do, I have a question for Deputy City Attorney Cummings about A15 and A16. Do they have to travel together, or can we remove A15 from the consent agenda and leave A16 on?
I believe they need to travel together because I guess they don't need to travel together. However, the reason why we're submitting determination for the limits of third-party food delivery service is as a result of the declaration of emergency. So I guess you can probably still have the limits on third-party food delivery services without the declaration of emergency, but the reason why we're limiting it is because of the declaration of emergency.
Understood. I'd like to move A15 from the consent agenda, please.
Alderman Rainey?
I would say that the delivery services might scream if we don't have a declaration of an emergency by putting limits on them. Just saying. And I would like to have the limits, so. I think they do go together.
All right, so A15 is off. Alderman Sufferman, do you want to do A16 then?
Sure, I'll do A16, which is Resolution 59R20, terminating the limits on third-party food delivery service fees on September 14th, 2020. Staff recommends City Council adoption of Resolution 59R20, terminating the limits on third-party food delivery service fees on September 14th, 2020.
Second.
All right. A17 is Resolution 60-R-20, limit on tax-supported general obligation debt. Staff recommend council adoption of this resolution, amending the city council
Can we
budget.
remove this one too, Alderman Fleming, please?
All right. Removed. Alderman Rainey, can you do A18?
Sure. Staff recommends that we recommend to the council adoption of Resolution 61R20, authorizing the manager to increase the total fiscal year 2019 budget by $14,852,441 to a new total of $334,017,889. This is for action.
And sorry, Mayor Rainey, had you read that? I just realized I wanted to take that one off.
Oh.
Sorry about that.
Want me to do the next one?
Yes, please.
Okay.
And actually, I'm going to take that one off too. 'Cause
Don't make
So
me
you
read
can
it.
you do A20.
This is a short one. Are you sure I can leave it on? Oh, short. I hate this one. Okay. We're being asked. No, we're being asked to introduce and then adopt at a later date ordinance 43-020, amending 10, 11, 12 of the parking meter zones of the city code, converting 10 two-hour parking spaces to short-term parking on the south side of Davis Street, west of Maple Avenue. It's for introduction.
All right, I'll second that one. Alderman Sufferman, 21, please.
Sure. I move item A21, ordinance 44-020, amending various sections of the city code to convert portions of Oak Avenue to 4-hour parking. Staff recommends City Council adoption of ordinance 44-020, amending various sections of the city code to convert portions of Oak Avenue to 4-hour parking zones. The ordinance will be made to section 10-11-8, schedule 7, parking prohibited at all times. Section 10-11-12, schedule 7B and F, parking meter zones is for introductions. I know we're on consent, but I have a question. I see Mike Rivera is here. May I have leave to ask a question?
Yeah, hi, good evening, Alderman.
Mike, where are we on the comprehensive parking study? When are we anticipating getting that back?
The comprehensive parking study has been delayed, perhaps to start in either October or January 1st due to the COVID, because a lot of the work that they were going to have to do was field studies and surveys, and due to the COVID, all the parking behaviors and patterns throughout the city have shifted. So you would be getting inaccurate data if we started the study right now. Okay,
gotcha. So is it possible that these would have to be changed back if that is something that the parking study suggests?
It could. Part of the reason why we were looking to make this change to this particular part of the block is because the proximity to the Maple parking garage and the savings for long-term commuters. So long-term commuters, we currently offer them downtown Evanston employees, we currently offer them a $60 a month discounted rate versus if they were to park there now, they'd be paying $80 a month feeding the meter every day, daily. So given the new residential buildings that are being built and just opened on the 1700 block of Oak, we felt that it would be a better fit to have 4-hour parking and have parking turning over within the 4 hours, every 4 hours, instead of having people parking there all day for the duration, 12 hours a day.
Good deal. Thank you, man. I appreciate it.
Okay, thank you.
All right, A22 is ordinance 67-0-20, authorizing the city to borrow funds from the Illinois Environmental Protection Agency Public Water Supply Loan Program. Staff recommends council adopt this ordinance to borrow funds for the 30-inch diameter transmission main rehabilitation. This ordinance authorizes the city to borrow $11 million for this project. The debt service will be provided from the water fund. There's a 5-year water fund analysis attached. This is for introduction. Alderman Rainey, 23, please.
Okay, I lost my place. Hold on. All right, 23. Ordinance 68-020, accepting the dedication of a certain portion of the property located at Central Street, 3606 Central Street. I move approval. Oh, it's for introduction. Move introduction.
Alderman Sufferman, A24, please.
Sure. I move item A24, ordinance 66020, amending the city code to establish a four-way stop control at the intersection of Ewing and Thayer Street. Staff recommends adoption of ordinance 66020, by which the city council would amend section 10-11-5D, schedule 5D of the city code to establish four-way stop control at the intersection of Ewing Avenue and Thayer Street. I also request suspension of the rules for introduction and action at this city council meeting. Funding will be through the general fund traffic control supplies with the fiscal year 2020 budget of $58,000 and a remaining balance of $18,395.
Second.
All right, and I actually am going to take the liquor commissioners, so they're 825, 26, 27, and 28 off of consent agenda. I have several questions just about the suspension of the rules for all of them. I just want to make sure we're suspending the rules because it's needed. So,
Could I point of information? Or not really information on those licenses that are just because people are going out of business?
yes, I'm happy to do those, but I think we only have, let me just look real quick, because I think one was going out of business, but another company was picking it up.
Another, it was, Well, one has to give up their license so the new guy can come in. So why don't we do that so the new business can operate?
Let me just see which one that,
It's Chili's. Chili's needs to get rid of the old license so the new person can come in.
right, and then 25 is,
That's the American.
no, 25 is a decrease, so I'm willing to do those two.
Okay.
25 is also a decrease in licensing, so I will go ahead and move those two. So I will move 25, thank you for that reminder. Ordinance 70-0-20, amending city code section 346C to decrease the number of Class C liquor licenses from 19 to 18. This is staff recommended suspension of the rules for introduction and action at tonight's meeting. A26, I'm going to take off of the consent agenda. A20, which one is the decrease? A20,
28.
28 is the increase. I'm taking that one off of the agenda.
Oh,
27 is the decrease. I will move 27, which is ordinance 75-0-20, amending city
Okay.
section 3-4-6C to decrease the number of Class C liquor licensing from 18 to 17 from ERJ Dining at 1765 Maple. Staff is recommending suspension of the rules for introduction and action at tonight's meeting.
That's good. Okay. Second.
Thank you. All right, so I'm going to move the entire consent agenda. We need to vote on that, correct, council? So I move in.
Second.
All right, all those in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? All right, so we have a few we have taken off. Alderman Sufferman, can you start with A15?
So item A15 is resolution 58R20, extending the declared state of emergency to September 14th, 2020. Staff recommends city council adoption of the resolution 58R20, extending the declared state of emergency to September 14th, 2020. This is for action.
Second.
Do you have a comment, Alderman Sufferman? Yes? Sure. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so I had asked Brian George, who's the attorney who prepared the memo, what the reasons for doing this are. And I don't, other than the third-party food service delivery fee limit, I don't know what's compelling. This has nothing to do with FEMA reimbursement. So I don't know. Nick, can you help me understand, and not to have you answer for Brian's response, but what other advantages are there to the city to having this, besides the third-party delivery cap that we all agree we want?
Sure. The extended state of emergency or the disaster declaration for the city allows the liquor commissioner additional powers as well. It helps us with the Department of Health with the ability to quarantine individuals because there's a declared disaster. So there are other powers that come along with the declared state of emergency that give the city a little more flexibility. Right now, the state of Illinois is in phase 4, but so as my understanding, there's still a declared state of emergency for the state. It's just a lot more relaxed than what we saw in March and April.
Alderman Rainey? Oh, I'm sorry, Alderman Stephanie, keep going.
Do you know why September 14th was picked as the date to continue it to? It seems like the state's going on 30-day continuances.
I do not know why it was extended to September 14th. I know that we've tried to keep these in lockstep with city council meetings. So I don't know why it was extended 2 months versus 1 month or anything like that, to be perfectly honest with you.
Okay. And to your knowledge, and again, like I apologize, this isn't necessarily something that you should know.
I mean, I should know, and I will just say that for the 2 months, it may have just been allowed, instead of having to come revisit this issue so often, that is my expectation, is that we went 2 months instead of going into August.
Has the health director used his authority to compel somebody to quarantine up to this point?
Absolutely. There have been multiple people that have been given to quarantine in the city of Evanston, because the city of Evanston, unlike the city or even the state of Illinois, sort of has led the way with respect to contact tracing. We haven't been sophisticated about it in terms of software, but the city has definitely been identifying individuals who tested positive, identified people that they've been in contact with, and ordered certain individuals into quarantine as a result of the work that Ike has been doing. So it definitely is helpful to have a declared disaster in order for him to exercise those powers. You're still on mute, Alderman Suffolk, I can't hear you.
Well, one other question, I could save it for A16, but I mean, we have the authority to just establish a cap on third-party delivery fees independent of the emergency, if that's a policy decision we want to make.
Correct. That's a political decision. If the aldermen decided they wanted to do that for the city of Evanston, beyond a certain time frame, if they wanted to pass an ordinance, that's certainly on the city council to do.
All right. Thank you.
Alderman Rainey?
Yeah, well, we know for a fact that the additional liquor authority came from the State Liquor Commission, because that is where the curbside cocktail delivery came from, not from our liquor commissioner, because we tried to do that and were shut down based on his authority. The liquor commissioner, state liquor commissioner, overrode our liquor commissioner. He was not given those authorities. So that is not a reason to extend to September 15th. So, I mean, I'm not sure why we're doing it either. And I would think that if there's a state of emergency and our health department is a certified health department, our health department would have authorities granted by the state, right? To quarantine somebody.
The state code gives powers to the Department of Public Health under the state law.
Yeah.
So those powers, some of them may extend to our own as a home rule municipality. Some of them may extend to our own Department of Health. But under our ordinance, because we have a declared disaster, our health director would have additional authority.
I think we should find out. Because of the status our health department holds. I don't think it has necessarily to do with that we're a home rule city. I think it's more the health department's status and certification.
Okay.
And I don't necessarily have a question, although I just have a little bit of the same concern with extending it to September. The state currently is under, obviously, the state of emergency through the end of this month. And that was challenged down in some Southern Illinois county, and I believe that the governor needs to appeal that. So I think, we've been meeting pretty regularly. I mean, I would be more concerned if it made our meetings, if it correlated to our meetings, needed to go back into the Civic Center where we know we don't have appropriate spacing and all those things. But if it doesn't correlate with that, I think we've gotten in a pretty good groove of meeting pretty regularly. And we're getting ready to get into the budget time. And so I like us to, as much as we can, go back to this new normal. And if we have to go back to a declare state of emergency because numbers are going up and so on and so forth, I think that makes more sense. But right now, almost every committee is meeting again. You know, we are kind of functioning through this Zoom mechanism pretty well. And so I am uncomfortable moving to a state of emergency, particularly all the way until September 14th, when the state is not extended that far.
So with the lack of a state of emergency declared in the city of Evanston, the rules that the governor set forth, even in phase 4, would require some physical presence in the Civic Center for meetings. Right now, the fact that this committee is meeting, I believe, completely remotely, under the new rules, either myself or the committee chair would need to be present in the Civic Center in order for the meeting to go forward. And I believe there was a PAC opinion issued actually today or this morning. I'm sorry, it was released on July 2nd and I received it this morning, giving further guidance on that. But if it's a declared state of emergency in the city of Evanston, the city can then determine that it is not safe, for lack of a better word to use, not safe to gather in the Civic Center at all. And so my understanding is that there's, a desire to keep the Civic Center empty insofar as possible.
That's interesting. Yeah.
Mr. Cummings, I thought that right now we were operating under that guidance and that someone is in the building for city council meetings.
Isn't the mayor always there?
And I thought
He's
Deputy
generally in his office, and I believe the city manager is generally in her office, but they're not in the council chambers.
Right, but I thought, I looked at this earlier today, I thought someone, and it mentioned, I forgot what the language was, but essentially the mayor, I guess, or the city manager needed to be in the building, which I thought that's why someone was in the building now for our meetings. Maybe not for committee, but for full council.
My understanding, according to the governor's issuance or the governor's guidance with respect to those meetings, it has to be the executive, the head executive of city council or corporation council needs to be present. You can say in the building, but generally speaking, that's not where the meetings are. I mean, the office or the room where the meetings are held is not usually the mayor's office. He's been, in my understanding, he's been just in his office.
Yeah.
Generally, not necessarily because of, just where he's just been deciding to be for the meetings.
Okay, so for resolution 58-R-20 to extend the declare state of emergency to September 14th, it looks like there's many questions. So I am ready to call. This is for action. I'm ready to call the vote. And if you have more information, Mr. Cummings, that you want to send to council later, obviously, sounds like we need some clarification on this. All right, so 815, resolution 58-R-20 is for action. All those in favor, please say aye. All opposed, please say no. I'm a no.
No.
Alderman Rainey, do you have a?
But I'll be a no.
Okay,
Can we take it to the council anyway for discussion?
If it does not pass out of committee, it does not go to council.
so it did not pass out of committee. We have a meeting on the 27th. We're
Yeah, we
still
can do
under
it next week.
Yeah.
We have a meeting on the 27th and we're still under the declaration of emergency, right, at that time?
I believe the current state of emergency expires today, the 13th. It was extended to the next city council meeting, so because of the timing, the state's disaster usually goes until the end of the month. And I believe it was renewed on the 28th or somewhere about that in June. But we did not have a city council meeting between that date and today. And so the extension was given until today. So it's set to expire today.
Alderman Sucker.
Yeah, can we amend this to extend it to July 27th? And then we can take this up at that meeting?
Second,
That a regular meeting? I move that we amend it.
I think we should do that.
All right, so now that we voted for it not to pass, corporation.
But you didn't move on, so it's.
Well, so did we just amend resolution 58-R-20?
It sounds as though Alderman Sufferman is asking.
Stephanie, why don't you move that then?
Yeah, so I move that we amend this, extending the emergency, declare state of emergency. We amend the date to July 27th, 2020.
Second.
We have an amendment to resolution 58-R-20, extending the declare state of emergency until July 27, 2020. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Alderman Stephanie, you're muted. Any opposed? All right, so that motion carries. I believe A17 is the next one. A17
And
is,
Alderman Fleming, I was just going to mention Alderman Braithwaite has joined.
oh, all right. Alderman Braithwaite, we've passed the consent agenda. We pulled several items off, so we're just going through that now. So we are at item A17, resolution 60-R-20, limit on tax supported general obligation debt. Staff recommends council adopt this resolution, which would increase the limit on tax supported general obligation debt from 152 million to 155 million. This is for action. And I pulled that off because I wanted this to be explained to the public. And we had conversations last year about increasing our debt limit, so we want to be clear on that.
Okay. Good evening, Madam Chair, members of the committee. This is Desai. So yeah, last year, City Council kept the limit at 152 million. Originally, it went up to 162, and they wanted it to be reduced to 152 after our December principal payout. So in light of our 2020 bonds, and which is like explained in the next page, that we would have roughly $7 million in the tax-supported debt in the upcoming bond issue. So in light of that, we ask for extending this limit to a 155 million. Now, if you look at on the second page, the calculation, as of December, it's around 147 million. We are going to add 7 million, the capital projects, which is a tax supported debt. We are refunding the 2010A and 2011A bonds of worth of 8.7 million. So that's the new money, less the refunded bonds, which would be 11.9 for 2010. So we estimate that we would be somewhere around 152 million. But again, this could kind of vary by millions depending on the offering premiums and the refunding savings when we issue the bonds in the August. So that's why, kind of on a safer side, I'm requesting the council to kind of increase the limit to $155 million.
Does anyone else have any more questions? So I touched, just for the regular, very basic math of it, we are not going out to bond or borrow $3 million more.
No.
Okay.
It's just that we need the flexibility. So in case, it's not that, okay, we are going to borrow more because I'm asking for it.
Okay, I want to be, again, trying to be very clear for the public. And then you said it might just, vary by $1 million. If we left it at 152 and we did all that you just spoke of and we ended up at 153, what would that mean for us if we did not make the increase?
I mean, we would be violation of our own debt limit. Like City Council, adopts this debt limit. I mean, we are not required by the state law, so we would be not in compliance with our own City Council adopted rules.
Okay, but no violation with the state or?
Correct.
Okay. All right. So I will support this. I would love, as these numbers kind of whittle down to the penny, if you can come back and give us an update of where we land, that would be good for the public to know.
Absolutely.
152 and 155. All right. So seeing no further questions, move for action resolution 60-R-20, limit on tax supported general obligation debt. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Alderman Sufferman is muted. Alderman Braithwaite, you're muted as well. You're yes, and I don't know, I can't see. Alderman Rainey, did you vote? Is Alderman Rainey still there? Luke, Alderman Rainey's gone?
I'm not seeing her here.
Okay. All right, so then I'm gonna need you gentlemen to unmute and vote because I don't know what the count is. All those in
Yeah,
favor? please
I'm
say
a aye, and I'll give her a text and see where she is. I don't see her in the meeting
Alderman
either.
Sufferton, are you aye or you a nay?
Aye.
Okay, thank you. So A17 passes 3-0. A18 is Resolution 61-R-20 to 2019 budget amendment. Staff recommends City Council adoption of this resolution, authorizing the manager to increase the total fiscal year 2019 budget by $14,852,441 to a new total of $334,017,889. This is for action. Hitesh, can you please explain this large increase?
Okay, so again, this is the procedural matters. Whenever we exceed in terms of expenses, go above the originally expended budget, we come back to the city council in terms of a budget amendment. Now, the two big items, the two big funds, the Crown construction, which is overspent by 10 million. We didn't know how much in terms of timeline and how much money we would spend. So, and there is a detail in the second and third page by each fund that how much more they spend. So the Crown is the big one with roughly 10 million. And the insurance fund, because of some legal claims and settlement, was over by 3 million. That made up 14 million. I can't hear you.
Can you please explain the Crown overture? I know there was a lot of conversation about the bidding process for Crown and that I thought I can't remember the name of it, but some type of bid where we were not going to pay overages. Was that correct?
I mean, I would leave it to Lara, but I looked at it and, is Lara there?
All right, Laura or Dave, can you please explain that?
Hello, Council. This is Laura Biggs, City Engineer. So we entered into a guaranteed maximum price contract, which had a contingency that was set aside for undeveloped design details as we entered into the contract when the design was 50% complete. And largely that does protect us from most contract overages. We have had some unforeseen soils costs that were really substantial. And so we are currently negotiating with the contractor to investigate how to mitigate the costs from those unforeseen soil issues.
So you're saying the increase is part of this contingency and the increase is up to $9 million?
No, this is unrelated to the bond issue.
Right. So
Right now, that's a separate issue.
Right. So yeah, again, this is Alderman Fleming. You know, when we budgeted, we didn't know how much of the work we would be done. So this is the 9 million is compared to the budget, not compared to the project cost.
Okay.
Right. So this is compared to a budget, but we have to come to you because original budget was of a smaller amount for Crown construction, obviously many months before the project happened. So that's why we come back for the budget amendment of $9 million for Crown Capital.
All right. Thank you for clarifying that. So there are no other questions. Resolution 61-R-20, the 2019 budget amendment is for action. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Alderman Sufferton, you're on mute still.
Just give it a thumbs up, man.
All right, so there's one aye. All those opposed, please say no. I am opposed. Alderman Sufferton, you gave a thumbs up. Was that what's
I'm a no. I'm a no.
or no? Okay. So that does not pass. I believe Alderman Rainey is still not here. I'm sorry, I'm reading. I have a message here that someone signed up to speak for an issue. That issue was taken off of the, actually, no, I'm sorry, that issue's coming up. All right, A19 remained on the agenda. Am I correct? I am correct. Okay. A25 is our next one. I'm looking at my notes, guys. All right. A20.
Alderman Fleming, you
Yes.
did pull A19 off the,
I did. Thank you, Dave. I thought that I did, but I didn't write it down. All right. A19 is ordinance 69-0-20, authorizing 2020 general obligation bond issues. This is for introduction. I'm not sure who pulled that off. Did you pull it off, Alderman Sufferton? You're muted.
A19 was pulled off by you, Alderman Fleming.
Thank you, Dave. I think I just wanted another explanation by Hitesh, because again, these are very large numbers. So if you can explain for the public what we're doing here.
Right. So again, good evening. So this is the 2020 bond issue. I mean, again, it's a two-piece bond issue. One is the new money for our capital projects, including for the water, sewer, and parking, not exceeding $18 million. And the second piece is the refunding. So which is we just kind of retiring the old debt and issuing the new debt, and that would kind of refinancing is estimated to generate around $2 million in savings. So we are kind of a great news for us. So total amount of 18 million, again, that's a higher amount. We don't need that. I mean, we have the project listed, which is a total of 16.4. But again, as I said, we don't know the market environment when we sell the bonds in August. So we just kind of come with this, what we call a parameters ordinance that, okay, interest rate won't be higher than 5.5%. Annual debt service won't be higher than a 3 million. So those kind of things. But if you look on the second page of the memo, the total capital projects are $16.4 million. General capital projects are $7 million. Water fund has a $6.4 million. Parking fund has 1.5 million, and the sewer fund has a 1.5 million. So that makes up of 16.4 million. Obviously, the rate environment, this is the one place where we kind of, is better than the last year. And if you have any more questions, obviously we have Sharon Levy, who is our bond counsel from Chapman, and Ms. McKenzie, who is the financial advisor from Spear. I think they were supposed to be on the line too, if you want to ask them any questions.
All right, do any more committee members have questions?
No.
No. All right, I don't have any more questions. Hitesh?
Okay, thanks.
So this is for introduction, A19 ordinance 69-0-20, authorizing 2020 obligation bonds issuance. All those in favor, please say aye. Alderman Suffren is still muted. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please say no. I can't hear you, Alderman Suffren.
No.
No, okay, so there, and I was a no for 19. Hitesh, my concern is that we have these very large numbers, and I appreciate all you're doing to try to get it out there, but obviously it is, we've had three, and I'm just giving this explanation for you and for the public. We just talked about three very large bonding issues. We know property tax bills just came out where some people saw some very large increases. And I would love us to figure out a way to communicate some of these things a little bit better to the general public so that they understand how these things are going to impact them. When you talk about borrowing such large numbers and they're fluctuating, it's very confusing probably to the general public. And so that is my concern. Now that said,
I mean, half of the Alderman Fleming, as I mentioned, half of them is a refunding. It's not a new bond, a new debt. It's just, and we are going to generate almost $1.5 to $2 million in savings. So that would.
Okay, so, all right, so I'm ready. I will move, this is the introduction. I'll move it to the council. I have some questions that I can email you that I would prefer you put into the package when we have action items. I appreciate the detail that you go into, but I do think there's a way we maybe can just explain this a little better in our packet for the general public who's paying attention. So if it's, I'm willing to move it forward, I can change my vote to a yes, and then I'll just have proposed that there's a better way you can explain this for the general next time. Okay, so it'll go on to the introduction. A26.
Madam Chair, may I interrupt for a moment?
Yes.
Can you just remind me what did you just revote on? Which item?
Oh, I'm sorry. I changed my vote from a no to a yes in 19, and I'm going to email Hitesh since it's introduction, I'm going to email Hitesh some questions I have in hopes that we can, a little bit of a just kind of generalized way we can communicate these things to the public, because they're such large numbers when we're talking about bonding. I just think in our packet, there's a better way that's less, I know you're a finance person, but less finance heavy for people to understand what we're talking about.
I also just wanted to make a note on A18, the budget amendment. So I know that it failed, but Alderman Rainey dropped off and we're trying to get her back on. And I'm wondering if there's a possibility for us to revisit that at the end of the meeting so that she can have an opportunity to vote on that. Because if we don't have a balanced budget, we are not going to be in compliance with state law. And the budget amendment would need to have an additional vote in order to move on to the council meeting later tonight. So I know that Hitesh was explaining the Robert Crown and why we had to do this budget amendment. That
Right.
$10 million overage, it's not an overage. I'm not sure if everybody understood that. The project is not over budget by $10 million. It's just that $10 million was spent in 2019 versus 2018. We had budgeted to spend more in 18 and spend less in 19. And just the way the bills came in and when we paid them, they got paid in 19 versus 18. So, you know, when you have a multi-year project, you're never certain at what point in time the bills are going to come in and you're going to pay them because there's, you know, markers along the way as to progress. So I'm just concerned that we need to have a second look at this budget amendment to make sure
Okay.
that we have a balanced budget for 2019.
All right, happy to bring it back. We have a couple more still to go through, so happy to bring
Thank
it
you
back.
so much.
And that information, again, and maybe my questions are not clear, but that's the kind of information that I think having such a civically engaged population, if it is explained in the memo or a graph or something a little bit better, will just help people to understand why we're making these changes. So for people to hear a $9 million overage in Robert Crown is very concerning when we had the bid that Laura talked about. So
Yeah, absolutely.
that $9 million is not going to be spent next year. Or this year will be very helpful.
Alderman Fleming, I believe we have Alderman Rainey back now.
Okay, well, I'm gonna keep on where we are and then we can go back so she can vote. So A26 is the next one. I'm told we have a speaker for this one. Who has the list of speakers?
I have that. Alderman Fleming, do you know which speaker it was that messaged you?
Actually, it was Alderman Rivera, so I have no idea who the speaker is.
That might be me. Brett Hollingren, is this for the Evanston American Legion?
Yeah, Brett, so let me go ahead and move it for introduction and then you can speak. Our ordinance 72-0-20, amending City Council Code Section 3-4-6 S to permit service of alcohol to American Legion non-members. Corporation Council, I have a quick question because this is for introduction and action. So do we need to vote on introduction and action for suspending the rules before we take the speaker? Or should I take the speaker first?
You can take this. I mean, the order of which when you take the speaker doesn't matter, but you do make suspend the rules in order to introduce it and have it in action at the city council meeting.
Got it. Okay. All right, Brett, you can speak to this item.
Sure. So I wasn't sure if there were any questions, but there was a little bit of clarification from some questions I got previously. So we do already have, obviously, a Class S liquor license. We are the only veterans organization in the city with that license. And we are also covered by that license to have alcohol outside on the patio and so forth. What this amendment is doing basically for us is we currently have 3 classes of membership, veteran, Sons of the American Legion, and then basically a booster, which is a general public that does not have any veteran affiliation. Could be a neighbor, could be anyone that comes in. So as our liquor license stands at this immediate moment, in order for us to actually serve someone on the patio or upstairs, they have to have someone in their party who is a member. What we're asking with this amendment is to really get rid of that requirement because we feel that it is actually keeping some people from enjoying the patio, enjoying live music, enjoying the outdoor space that we have. One of the great advantages of our space is since we sit on the golf course, and this is a partnership with the golf course, we have plenty of space to actually social distance very easily. Everyone who is on the patio gets 20 square feet of space, and it's been successful so far this summer. One of the reasons for why we would like this to be fast-tracked, or I'm sorry, I'm not sure what the terminology is, but to be fast-tracked is that we're running out of summer. And at this point, if it isn't just approved and everything right away, that again kind of delays us, and which in that case then does not allow us to kind of get rid of this barrier to entry, I would say. It's anywhere from $25 to $45 depending on what kind of membership you have, which means that if someone just wants to come and listen to, let's say, the jazz on the patio, they still need to have at least a membership for one person in their party, which again is just kind of an extra fee that we don't feel is necessary and is also kind of detrimental to the golf course and the American Legion because it's kind of cutting down on the number of people that they can basically enjoy the space.
All right. Thank you very much for that. I do have a question, Brett, for clarification.
Sure.
So right
Absolutely.
now, regardless of your, I understand the membership piece, but in terms of where and how you serve, do people come upstairs to get their cocktail and then go down to the patio? Are you already serving on the patio?
So as of last year, there was a patio bar opened up. So that patio bar is actually in the building itself. However, there's a window open to the patio. So you can actually choose. You can go upstairs and get a drink and bring it down, or you can go to the window and bring it out to the patio. As people get their drinks and so forth, well, let me rephrase that. We are actually using servers now on the patio to make sure that we're social distancing. So what it is we've got a server that would come up to you, they would bring out your drinks or your pizza or chips or whatever you want at that point, and they would actually bring it out to you versus actually going to that window. But we are serving out of that window on the property. Oh, I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you there.
Oh, I said thank you for the clarification. Does anyone else have any more questions? No, I see Alderman. Okay. All right. So that was moved for action.
I don't think you had a second on that one, Alderman Fleming.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Second.
Okay, now Corporation Council, because I do this wrong every time. So this is for introduction and action. So we're fine to vote on it just to move it to City Council, and then at Council we vote for introduction and action?
Correct.
Okay. So all those in favor of moving this to Council, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? All right, so that passes. Brett, if you want to stay and have comment at City Council, you are welcome to do that.
Great, absolutely, I will. Thank you very much.
28 was pulled off as well, and that's ordinance 76-0-20, amending City Code Section 3-4-6C to increase the number of Class C liquor licenses from 17 to 18 for Brinker Restaurant Corporation doing business as Chili's Grill and Bar. And so since I now have clarity, I pulled this off because I am concerned about the suspension of the rules for the new liquor licenses. I wanted to have a little bit more conversation around why we need to suspend the rules. So I'm happy to move this one for introduction and action, and we can talk about the suspending the rules. We do that vote over at council. I thought we did that here in committee. So I'm going to go ahead and move that. Go ahead, sorry.
Just Alderman Fleming, just as a point of information, the only change that's taking place is that it's going from a non-franchise to a franchise store. So it'll be same ownership, same staff, same general manager. For the general public, there will be absolutely no change in operations or personnel. So I spoke with their corporation counsel and gave my approval to staff to go ahead and put it for suspension of the rules, just to not have any interruptions in their operations due to a changeover in ownership.
Okay, and thank you for that clarity. We did move the decrease from the last owner. And again, my concern just is, as we have 4 of these, I think we owe it to the public to explain why we're suspending the rules. It's not just.
No, it totally makes sense. I'm sorry that I wasn't at the meeting.
That's okay. That's okay. So all those in favor of moving A28, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? All right, so I'm not sure exactly how we do this. We had voted on, I think it was A18.
Yes, you have A18 to go back to, and you've never taken action on A2, the Amazon purchase.
Oh, thank you. I'm so glad you're here. All right, so let's go to A2. We had taken that off the consent agenda for Alderman Sufferton. Oh, no, I can't really get my computer. Alderman Rainey, can you take A2?
I will. Yeah, 1 second here. I'm dialing it up. A2 is approval of BMO Harris Amazon credit card activity for the period ending April 26th in the amount of $20,590.54. Move approval.
Second.
Second.
All right. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Alderman Sufferton?
I abstain. Thank
All
you.
right, great. All right, so I'm now going back because Alderman Rainey's phone dropped off or something. And so you were not here for A18, for the vote on A18, which did not pass. So Corporation Council, please make sure we're doing this correctly.
There was a commotion outside my house.
No, that's okay. Yeah, no, that's fine. I just want to make sure if it did not pass and we're bringing it back on to make sure we're doing it the
Okay,
right way.
all right.
Corporation Council is the way to do this.
I'm sorry.
Not your fault.
So at the time that the vote was called, did the committee have a quorum when Alderman Rainey left?
Yes.
Yes,
Okay.
I was present.
Then you're actually looking to reconsider it based upon the city council rules. So this is actually the time that it can be reconsidered because it's actually taken up in the same meeting. So
So who
What
does
was
the
the vote? What happened?
The vote was,
I'm sorry.
it failed. 2 noes and a yes.
Okay.
There was a request that we consider bringing it back. So I'm
It's
trying
gonna be 2-2 now.
It's gonna be 2-2, which will be a pass to council, correct?
so because it's a reconsideration, it won't pass because it requires a 2/3, I believe, 2/3 vote for reconsideration. However, it will, I believe, because it is a tie, technically, I believe it fails, but I think it still goes to council.
It's also a resolution. I think it's treated a little differently.
I think we've usually taken 2, a tie to council, but I'm no Robert's Rules of Order expert.
That's not in Robert's Rules of Order.
Well, there you go, because I'm no expert.
We make that up.
I would
All right, Kelly is here. Kelly, what do you?
Sorry, I don't mean to jump in, but I actually have the rule. Do you want me to read you the rule so we know?
Please do.
Okay.
22.1.
22.1, and it states that you may have a vote reconsidered at the same meeting at which the vote was taken. An affirmative vote of 2/3 of the aldermen present is required for the motion to pass. The vote taken on any other motion, blah, 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 the next regular meeting, that doesn't apply. The motion to be reconsider must be made by an alderman who voted on the prevailing side. However, when a motion, resolution, ordinance fails to pass by reason of not having received a required extraordinary vote, a motion to reconsider properly made may be seconded by another alderman.
Well, I have a point of order here. I did not, I sent a text to Peter asking him to tell you that I had to leave the meeting for a minute. So I was not absent from the meeting. I don't think the vote should have been taken. I think you should have waited for me to come back. This shouldn't be an issue of reconsidering.
Yeah, I agree with that because
Should have waited for me to come back. I
during,
mean, I had an emergency outside my house, and I'm back before the meeting's over.
right, during this time of the executive order that the governor has provided for us to have these remote meetings, it's not the same as a typical in-person meeting where we would all be present in the chambers. And so there's additional complications that play in. So in this case, I would ask for Corporation Council to opine on whether or not.
I would, if that is the case, if Alderman Rainey asked just to be excused momentarily and was coming right back, then yeah, I don't think a vote should have been taken.
I mean, I don't know if Peter saw my text, but I couldn't,
Right, and I guess to the chair, since you are presiding over the meeting, I mean, we have 2 pathways out of this. Someone could either change their vote, which would send it to council, or out of respect for Alderman Rainey,
still
what
gonna
would
be
be
a
the path?
tie. Still
Look,
gonna
I'm
be a
not
tie.
Yeah.
trying to be a stickler. She dropped off. I didn't know what happened. I didn't get,
Yeah.
I would just, my suggestion,
last one while she was gone. I just didn't know where she went.
my suggestion would be to just re-vote and do a roll call vote on that ordinance
This should really
So it's a
go to
resolution.
or resolution.
the council issue.
So that's resolution, we're on number 18, right? Resolution 61-R-20, the 2019 budget amendment. Staff recommending council adopt this resolution, which will increase the total fiscal year 2019 budget from by $14,852,441 to a new total of $3,034,017 gosh, I'm getting this wrong. 334,017,889 for action.
Second.
All right. So we have no discussion. We've discussed this already. Alderman Braithwaite, do you have a question? You
No
good?
question.
Okay. So all those.
What we're doing here is we're voting to recommend this to the council. So that's what I hope this committee will do, is to recommend this to the council and let the council decide what to do with it. You know.
Yep, I get it.
Anything else? All right, so let me, for the public, because now I think this has become a little bit of a fiasco. So I voted no to this for two reasons. I voted no to the budget in 2019, but also I have concerns when we have these large increases. Mr. Desai did explain it. You know, I still have, I understand it, but I still have concerns in principle. That said, I do not want us to be out of state law compliance as well, because that's a whole other issue that I'm very much aware of and do not want us to open a can of worms. So I'm happy to move this through to the council, and I can vote no at the council, but that is the reason that I am voting no. However, if the other side of that is being out of compliance in state law, I don't need to do that either. Alderman Rainey.
Well, you know, we didn't go on junkets for this additional money. We paid for COVID related things with this money. I mean, it wasn't like we sent people to big fancy conferences or, you know, wasted money. We use this money in ways we never expected to spend money, and we received less money than we ever expected in our wildest dreams to receive revenue. So, I mean, there were a confluence of horrible situations, and so that's why we're doing this, and we just need to remember that. So that's why we're doing this.
So Mr. Desai gave an explanation why you were, you know, dealing with the other issue. And I believe in 2019, we were not dealing with COVID-19 related expenses.
Right. So Alderman Fleming, again, just a couple of ideas. I mean, this is about 2019. Again, we would be in the state violation. Second thing would be our fiscal 19 audit won't be finalized, even though we have the numbers final. The auditors want this budget amendment bit to pass before they can release the final audit report, formal audit report, and which we have to file with the state, the county, and GFOA for our award and a couple of other agencies. So, and again, as I mentioned earlier, and they even Manager Stowe mentioned, the Crown Construction Fund did not spend $9 million more than the project cost. It is compared to what we budgeted at that time, and it depends on the timing of the bills pay, as she mentioned. So this is not that we have spent $9 million more there in the Crown Construction Fund compared to the original cost.
I do understand that, but that's why I said, you know, us having the language correct is important. All right, so that has been moved, I believe, and seconded. All those in favor of 18 for action to council, please say aye.
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 And then all those opposed, please say no.
No.
Okay, so I believe that concludes everything on the agenda. Am I correct, Mr. Stoneback? Mr. Stoneback has left.
No, I'm sorry, I'm having trouble finding the right unmute button. Yes, everything is complete on the agenda now. Thank you very much.
Okay, so I'm going to move that we adjourn Administration Public Works for this evening. Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye.